Now let's go completely high-end with Rolls-Royce. The Series II version of the Ghost was released just a few months ago, and CNB was the only one invited to test the new car. Here's our exclusive review.
This is the car that's been the volumes driver for Rolls-Royce, and yes, that's a relative term for this brand. The Ghost was first launched in 2009 and so was due for an update. Now in its Series II avatar, the car hopes to take the already popular model even further.
With premium brands, when it comes to a facelift or a mid-cycle makeover, the idea is always to stay subtle because you don't want to take away too strongly from that brand and what it means. In the case of Rolls-Royce, that's perhaps even more severe. And so, yes, there was a lot of feedback taken from existing customers, says the company. So the idea was to keep the Ghost as the Ghost, and so, which is why you have very subtle sort of changes that have been carried out. The bigger focus was to try and make the front look a little wider, a little bit more ready for performance, and so a lot of the graphical elements have been moved outwards a little bit. Can't really tell when you look at it. Looks like the Ghost, but if we had the old car standing next to it, perhaps you'll be able to tell the differences. The other difference there, in fact, is the fact that the Parthenon grille and the mascot, the Spirit of Ecstasy, have both moved up 13 millimeters. Not a whole lot, but it does give you a little bit of a heightened sense of the hood over here, to imply again the kind of power that resides under it. There is a wake or a vapor trail that's been put in here into the metal just behind the Spirit of Ecstasy. It's nice, it implies power and sort of strength again. And the actual figure here has also, the figurine has been moved just about 7 degrees to the front. It's sort of tilting forward, again to imply performance.
The car looks just as grand and every bit a Rolls-Royce. The one with me is draped in the stunning Salamanca blue with a contrasting metal hood. Yes, very much how I would order mine. Now this is also the extended wheelbase version, which means that it's a bit more relevant to our market. But really, most of you don't care for that detail, do you?
The big focus technically though was the work that's been put into making this new daytime running light signature a reality. If you see, there's no brakes in this LED, it's completely continuous. Don't see that on any other car, and it's equally bright all around. A lot of focus, a lot of work went into keeping that and making that a reality, really. I like it. It does give the car a very distinct identity when you see it coming up from the rear. We've had some other cars with us on the drive today, and so I've been noticing that. There's a lot of muscle here in this particular flank as well on the fender, again to imply the power that the car carries. The new metal is really just from this point to the front. All of that, all the panels, the fenders, the bumpers, all of that is new. Even down here you can see that the bumper has been given a little bit of a redesign, and there's a little chrome element in there as well. The alloy pattern is new, and on this particular car you can see that there's a little complementary blue in there.
When you talk Rolls-Royce, the story is seldom about the performance, as that's a given, at least in terms of power and a superb ride. But on the Ghost Series II, there are some neat technical upgrades worth getting into.
Before the Wraith came along last year, the Ghost was the individual or driver's car in the Rolls-Royce portfolio, right? And so all the learnings from the Wraith, the engineers say, have gone back into the Series II. Now, is it as sporty or as dynamic as the Wraith? Of course not. They want to keep a separation between this car and that too. But having said that, you do have the option of something called the dynamic pack now that you can get on this car. What that does is just tightens things up a little bit in terms of throttle response, suspension settings, and also the way the transmission reacts. And yeah, you get a little bit of a sportier drive, a thicker steering wheel, and some chrome-tipped exhausts at the back. That's the only way to tell physically that it is a car with a dynamic pack. And speaking of that transmission, I love the 8-speed gearbox, always have. Now they've got something called satellite-aided transmissions. What it does is that the GPS hooks up with the gearbox and the car anticipates what's coming up on the road, and the gears change accordingly, so you get the optimal performance, and the car already knows what you're going to need before you know it.
How neat is that, right? Yet another autonomous driving feature that works in the background, the kind I like. It's non-intrusive and you don't feel the car dropping a gear either. It's very smooth. And smooth is the operative word when you talk of the initial pickup, the overall power delivery, or even the ample torque that's available near instantly. The gearbox has been very well married to the V12 beast. The car is fast too and doesn't feel like it's over 5.5 meters long. And that's creditable. I remember thinking the same with the original Ghost too, but today I have the longer wheelbase car, don't forget. The wheelbase is longer by 170 millimeters, in case you're wondering.
The coach doors, that's quintessentially Rolls-Royce, so of course you expect that, and the Ghost always had them. This one is the long wheelbase, so you can see that there is lots and lots of leg room for me. And this car's interior has been finished off in a nice light palette. There's a cream sort of a leather finish. It is really beautifully, impeccably done. So this particular one has also got some really nice wood inserts. The veneer used is really beautiful. Also a little bit of dull metal that's been used, and it all kind of fits together quite nicely. A thick pile shag carpet down here is also quite nicely done, and in fact there are some new options when it comes to some of these wooden veneer options. Now the bespoke line from Rolls-Royce, that's where you can customize your car and make it look different to everybody else's. 86% of Ghost buyers so far since 2009 have actually gone with bespoke features. It's a pretty high percentage. Rolls-Royce expects that going forward with the Series 2, that number is going to get even higher. And besides all those different options now for the interior trim, the other big change on the new Series 2, the seats. They've been completely reworked. In fact, the old seats have been thrown out, and this is a completely new structure, different kind of form and shape, and even the way the foam has been put in, the kind of support you get, all of that is absolutely new. In the front, by the way, the seats actually have the option of a little more cushioning along the sides, because now the car has a few more slightly powerful elements in its drive, and so a little sportier sort of a seat. That's what's been added in.
And so it's a substantial upgrade, and yet one that timelessly merges in with the Rolls-Royce Enigma. The Series 2 has already been launched in India. Prices start at just 4.5 crore rupees.